Hello there and welcome back to the Chap'S Guide. If this is your first visit here, my name is Ash, I'm the curator of this channel, and this is a place where we come together to talk about life skills, tips, advice, product reviews, anything really which can help you on your journey to being the best chap that you can be. Now, very much part of being a chap, as we've talked about before, is the way that you look and the way that you present yourself to the world. And perhaps in a more formal time, people dress a lot more like I am dressed now, wearing a jacket and tie. We see less of that these days. So the importance of the way we dress and the components of our wardrobe are never more important than they are today. Now, I'm going to talk about a humble part of our attire, and that's the dress shirt or the shirt. It's often overlooked and it's thought of as, the cheapest item in a chap's wardrobe. However, it has great influence on the way that you're perceived, and it has done for many years. I mean, it has always been used to distinguish a person's social rank, for instance. Now, if you were to wear a white shirt, as I am today, you'd be considered to be a white-collar worker, somebody who's a professional, perhaps a doctor, a lawyer, something like that, somebody who doesn't work so much with their hands, but with their brain. If you were wearing a blue-collared shirt or a blue-collar worker, you would be somebody who perhaps had a more physical job. And that's down to the practicalities, I guess, historically. Because if you were wearing a white shirt, you were less worried about getting it stained with, sweat or anything from the workplace. If you wore a white shirt, you're able to show cleanliness, so somebody like a doctor would wear a white coat. If you're a lawyer, the fact that you don't get dirty in your job, you could wear a white shirt, and it was seen as an element of your social rank if you're a white-collar worker. Even to this day, in certain hierarchical professions, things like the military and the police, officers or senior ranks are identified by the fact that they wear a white shirt or a lighter coloured shirt, and those who work in the sort of much wider workforce, the subordinate workers, they would wear darker coloured shirts, often blue or black or whatever profession you work in. But today, those thoughts around white and blue collar still persist, even though we live in a time where formality is decreasing all the time. Now, when I was a younger chap, as I've said before in previous videos, it would be normal for somebody working in a profession to wear a collar and tie. Today, far less so. In fact, increasingly, we only see the most senior people wearing ties in workplaces, and perhaps those of us working in the sort of rank and file of people often wear just an open collared shirt. It's more comfortable, but the formality is decreased. Importantly then, your shirt is elevated in its status in your wardrobe, because in the past, if you wear a tie, it allows you to show an element of your individuality in that little flash of colour, the fact you've chosen that tie to complement your other clothes. Now, without the tie, if you think of it, your shirt is just below the face where you tend to look at somebody when you converse with them or engage with them, and your shirt, in fact, has far more prominence. So it's very important. Increasingly though, and it's always been the case, people tend to just stick to those blues and whites, or some permutation of those colours, if you think about it. Almost everybody wears a white collared shirt, or a white shirt, or a blue shirt. It doesn't have to be that way. There are many other colours, materials, not just cotton, as most shirts do tend to be, some version of cotton. But you can creep other things into your wardrobe as well. Now, when building a wardrobe, the shirt is almost always overlooked as being the least expensive item that people will invest their money in when they're purchasing that wardrobe of clothes. And that's the wrong way to look at it. It's true, of course, because your suit, your shoes, your accessories like a watch or whatever will tend to be more expensive. Even your tie, will be more expensive more often than not than the shirt. But it shouldn't be like that. Your shirt, a well-bought shirt, a high-quality shirt, can last many, many years and have an undue influence on the way that you look and, of course, the way that you feel as an individual. Inner confidence comes from confidence in your clothing, the way that you look, and knowing that you've got a good quality shirt which presents you well, which gives a good impression to people, is a very important part. So this vital component does a number of things. It sets the tone of your clothing, and it sets the formality. Because if you wear a shirt which is multicolored perhaps, or it's got bold stripes or things like that, it might reduce the formality of your general ensemble of clothing. If you wear plain colours like white or light blue, it increases the formality. So it plays an important part in the way, the message that you're putting across to people who meet you when you're wearing a suit with a shirt, whether or not you're wearing a tie. So let's give you my top 5 tips of getting the most out of shirts in your personal wardrobe. Well, the first tip is that you don't have to pay a lot of money to get a high quality shirt, as long as you're prepared to make some compromises. Now, when I'm talking shirts, you can pay anything from £10 for an inexpensive shirt to a bespoke shirt made in Savile Row in London for anything over £300, £400, £500. It depends on your wallet, where you're pitching, how much you can afford, and where you feel comfortable spending that money. Now, personally, I'm a working man. I would love to, but I cannot afford to have a bespoke shirt made. It would be great to have a shirt, something I wear next to my skin, which has been made and designed and cut specifically for me, but I'm unlikely to be able to afford that in my lifetime. Let's be honest, I don't have that sort of money, and even if I did have that sort of money, I don't think I could commit it simply to a shirt, because I like to have a number of shirts in my wardrobe which are interchangeable with other clothes that I'm going to wear. Formal, informal, and in between. So, it's not just one shirt, it's investing in many. And I couldn't afford that, even in my wildest dreams. However, you can get very high quality shirts for modest prices. And the compromise is secondhand or pre-owned. eBay is a fantastic place to source extremely high quality shirts, as long as you can get over any hang-ups you might have that somebody else has owned them. And let's be honest, they've worn them before you. Now, I've got over that hang-up, and as a consequence, by and large, I wear very high quality shirts that I have paid a very small amount of money for. And here's a good example. I'm going to show you some shirts today that are in my collection. This is just a small part. I've been building my collection for many years. Now, probably the preeminent shirt manufacturer on Savile Row is Turnbull and Asser. They've been around for, well over 100 years, and I'm probably not doing them justice by saying well over 100. It's probably way over 100. And they are synonymous for making the best shirts worn by people at the top end of society. James Bond wears Turnbull and Asser shirts if you're a fan of his sartorial elegance, as many men tend to be, and they've been dressing him for many, many years, as well as probably the most best dressed men in the world. They often frequent Turnbull and Asser. Now, they do make fantastic bespoke shirts, but they also do off the rack selection as well, and made to measure. There's all different levels depending on how much money you want to spend. The bespoke stuff is in the hundreds and hundreds of pounds. The off-the-shelf stuff, actually, is still in the hundreds of pounds. I mean, a typical shirt from T&A, Turnbull and Asser, will cost anything in the region of between £200 and £300. Now, for many people, that could be 10 times what they're used to paying for a shirt. And when you look at the value equation, you can say, I could never afford that. So I've got a T&A shirt, Turnbull and Asser shirt here. Now, I'll give you some of the top tips I have for getting these shirts at very, very modest prices. For a start, this shirt I bought from eBay. All of the shirts I'm going to show you from Turnbull and Asser have cost me between £10 and £30, normally in the £20 bracket, sometimes 15, sometimes 25, depends how lucky I've been. It's an auction site. You get lucky sometimes you don't. Now, one of the tips I found, I really like contrasting collar shirts. The white colour shirt against a different coloured shirt body. And these are all sort of cotton shirts I'm showing you here. Now, the contrasting white collar is still predominantly worn by people in business, lawyers, professionals, people like that. But they've gone out of fashion in the general shirt-wearing community, perhaps people who work in offices in recent decades. However, there are still very many of these shirts are sold and bought to professionals who, thankfully for us, gain weight. They sell them on. Some people die. Let's be blunt about it. Some people die and their shirts are donated to charity shops, get sold on auction sites like eBay, and they are picked up for a steal. If you went on the Turnbull and Asser site, you would pay something in the region of £250, £350 for a standard off-the-rack shirt like this. This is a 15 and a half. I'm a 15 to 15 and a half collar shirt, which is great because I'm kind of medium size, so I can luck in when it comes to finding these shirts. And I can't remember this particular shirt. I've got a number of shirts all in the same style, all with the contrasting collar, and I paid something like £15 for this shirt, and it was immaculate. It hardly appeared to have been worn. And I have others here as well. So if I just put that one to one side, here's a lighter blue coloured shirt. Also, actually, this one's from Geeves and Hawkes. So Geeves and Hawkes, one of the most famous tailors on Savile Row, number 1 Savile Row. They occupy probably the best piece of real estate on Savile Row, the finest tailoring row in the world. Geeves and Hawkes, same as T&A, Turnbull and Asser, they make bespoke shirts as well. They also have an off the rack collection, and this is a Geeves and Hawkes shirt. Again, I would have paid something like £15 for this. It's a contrasting white collar, but with a lighter blue body, as you can see, and this one has got the lovely feature of having a white contrasting cuff as well. So very nice shirt, lovely attention to detail, fantastically made, beautiful piece, split yoke at the back, fits the body rather well. Again, this is a 15 and a half. Love that one. Pink. I am a big fan of introducing pink into men's wardrobes. So many people wear white shirts and they wear light blue shirts. Pink, I think, is starting to make an impression on the shirt world because it doesn't have to be sort of feminine. It's a lovely colour. It can be worn with virtually anything in your wardrobe. If you think, your grey, your charcoal grey suits, your navy suits, even beige, if you were to wear sort of browns or olive coloured shirts, pink goes with everything. That's why it's so popular. It's a bit like the white and it's a bit like the light blue. Again, this is a Turnbull and Asser shirt. This again would have cost me just a few pounds. It would have cost me £200 to £300 if I'd have gone into Turnbull and Asser in Savile Row, or Jermyn Street rather, and purchased this in London. So very, very pleased with that bargain. And again, there's all different types. This is a purple one for the days that you want to, change it up a bit, or if you're looking for a bit of informality. Now, one of the things I personally really like about the contrasting white collar is if you are wearing your shirt without a tie, this little contrast on the collar just gives a bit of visual interest to your outfit. And I often do wear, certainly casual wear, when I'm wearing just a jacket and shirt with no tie, I'll wear a contrasting white collar with an open neck because I just think that just adds a bit more visual interest, very interesting. And this purple colour, again, quite informal. You wouldn't really want to wear that to an important business meeting or a job interview, in my opinion. But I think it really fits in with sort of casual attire. And not just the sort of standard colours. This is I'll just perhaps give you a bit of a better look on that. Oh, it's not really light enough for you to see there. But it's all different coloured stripes. Predominant colour being blue in the body of the shirt. And again, I just really like this one. It's got that interest. It's got a contrasting white cuff, unlike the other ones. They're all French cuffs, these ones are. And it just, again, this is something that can easily be worn without a tie. As long as you're prepared to get over your hang-up that these shirts have been owned by other people at some point previously. In my opinion, once they've been washed, you're the person who, sets the agenda with the shirt. Once you've worn it, it's got your aroma of your cologne on it, or whatever you want to call it. It's cotton, it's cotton. It becomes part of your wardrobe. Forget about who's owned it before, because you can save, 10 times the price just by doing that. And you've got to be careful. I research these shirts, I look at them, I check the photographs in intrinsic detail. I will make sure that they are, immaculate before I make a purchase. And you will, over time, be able to buy dozens of these shirts if you want. You might get a bad one every so often, but you're only investing 10, 15, 20 pounds. You can wear it casually if it's not as you wish. I think have bought something in the region of 20 shirts, Turnbull and Asser, Geeves and Hawkes. I've only had one which has fallen short of my expectation because I've been careful in the way that I've bought it. So that's just one thing of getting a top quality, modest prices. Another way you can do that is shopping on the high street. Well, not so much the high street perhaps. Now this is a brand of shirt, Costco, right? Their brand is called Kirkland. These shirts, I'm wearing one right now, right? Every chap should have a white shirt in their wardrobe because it fits the bill for everything, does it not? You can wear it to a wedding, you can wear it to a funeral, you can wear it to court for those occasions that you find yourself either in front of or behind the bar in court. It's just that catch-all shirt. You can even wear it open-collared, no problem whatsoever. This shirt, I think in Costco, they cost less than £15 and they are exquisite quality, in my opinion. I mean, I've been buying shirts now for 30 odd years, and cotton shirt, quite thick gauge cotton, from Costco. They come in different sized sleeves, so you can determine the different length size. They've got all the different collar sizes, half sizes. It's not a compromise. This is a fairly good quality shirt for a very modest amount of money, and I recommend them. Because if you need a shirt and you're working in a job perhaps where you don't want to wear an expensive shirt, you can get shirts that are modestly priced, which give you a very strong value proposition. And they do all sorts of different styles as well. They do the white, as I'm wearing right now. They also do a light blue colour, very serviceable. I've worn these to work when I've worked in roles which required daily sort of wearing of shirts. As I do these days. I have found them to be nothing but good quality, long lasting, and these two shirts, these three, I'm wearing one as well, I've owned for years, and they deteriorate very slowly. So that's one tip. My second tip is to be bold as well, right? So when you're looking for shirts, as I say, the contrasting collar, you'll be able to find them a little bit cheaper because they're slightly out of fashion, and go for bold colours as well. I mean, here's a good one. This is a strong pink and blue stripe with a contrasting collar. This is a Turnbull and Asser shirt. It is contrasting white cuffs as well. I managed to pick that up, I think, for £15. When it arrived, I thought there'd been a mistake and they'd sent me a brand new shirt from eBay. I don't believe it had ever been worn. Perhaps somebody had bought it, they put it to one side, they'd gained weight. It's my favourite shirt. I often wear it for my most important meetings and things like that. But it's very bold. And because of that, perhaps didn't take everybody's eye. And here's another one. A little bit different this time, a lot more informal because it doesn't have that contrasting collar, which gives formality. It lends formality to a shirt. But this is one, as you can see, which is quite stripy. And it is, again, by Turnbull and Asser, double cuff. So unusual shirt, not perhaps formal enough to wear with a suit, but because of the French cuff, the double cuff, it means that it's perhaps a little bit too formal for casual. So, shirts like this, I paid nothing. I think I paid £11 for this on eBay. And again, it is like new. I mean, honestly, it looks like it's come straight out of the wrapper from the manufacturer and has never been worn. So there are some great bargains to be had if you look bold. Go for those bold colours, which people tend to steer away from. You can incorporate them into your casual wardrobe or, make them a little more formal. Find a style. Tip number 3 for me is find a style and a maker that suits you and start to build a collection. Now, I've clicked with Turnbull and Asser. I really like them. I can't afford to go in the shop and buy them, but I get them from eBay. They fit my body style, my arm length. It's perfect. So I've built up the little collection you've seen there. You will find that you will find a manufacturer or a shirt style which suits you well. Invest your money in building up a little collection. Always have a white shirt. Whatever happens, even if you only wear a suit a few times a year, have a white shirt in your collection because you won't go wrong. As I've said, you can wear it anywhere to anything. It's got you covered. When you've got a white shirt, or perhaps more than one if you wear shirts more often, then you can start to build that collection with different colours and start to go a bit more bold. But never omit white from your wardrobe. Now, another thing is looking after your shirts, because this investment, this tip number 4 for me is looking after your shirt in the long run, because it's an investment. This is, it can be a lot of money if you decide to put money into it. And the value proposition back to you, of course, is the number of wears you get for the money. So I'm spending £10, £15 on a shirt. If I wear it 10 times, I'm kind of quids in. I'm not going to argue with that. That said, I expect to wear these shirts dozens of times. So I'm going to, the price per wear is minimum. But you've got to be aware that all shirts, like all clothes, has only got a certain number of wears in them. They will break down. They will deteriorate. In a shirt, it tends to be on the collar. It tends to be on the cuff. If you're wearing a French cuff or a double cuffed shirt, it tends to be that crease where the cuff turns over. On the collar, it tends to be around here, where your collar sees most wear against the skin, particularly when you wear a tie and it cinches up against your neck. The more you wash a shirt, the more deterioration your shirt will see, and the less value proposition you'll get out of it. So my tip here is you don't have to wash your shirt every time you wear it, okay? Think of it as your shirt has got 100 wears in it, or 100 washes, I should say, in it, and be frugal with the number of times you wash the shirt. Now, I'm not saying wear a stinky shirt, all right? If you're watching this and you're in California, and every time you wear a shirt, you're going to sweat profusely, you're going to probably need to wash your shirt every day, or every time you wear it. In the United Kingdom, I'm making this video at the end of December, all right? It's cold. I don't perspire very often when I'm in December in the UK, unless you're in a really hot room. So you don't tend to leave a transfer of sweat onto your clothes. You can get away with wearing your shirt for more than one day before you wash it. If you just take it off, throw it in the laundry basket and wash it without thinking or looking at it, that's one less wash your shirt has got before it becomes unwearable. So all I'm saying is, in your circumstances, think about the number of washes that you put your shirt through, because that will directly determine the wear rate and the life of your shirt. So think about that before you do that. And finally, tip number 5, learn how to look after your shirt in another way as well. Maintain it. So if you lose a button, it doesn't mean you throw the shirt away. That would be sinful waste of a good shirt. Learn how to sew a button on, and it extends the life of your shirt. If you see a button getting loose, as you often do, particularly around the collar, because you're putting them under probably more stress, just sew it on. Don't wait until the button's popped off and you've lost it. If you feel it getting loose, just sew it. Sewing is so easy. If you don't know how to do it, look up a video on YouTube. I'm sure there are many people who specialize in sewing buttons on. So there we have it. Learn to repair it, tip number 5. And these are my tips and my thoughts around shirts. You can get fantastic quality shirts without breaking the bank, as long as you can get over some of those hang-ups I've talked about investing in something that's been pre-owned, that you can buy on an auction site. What it does mean is that you can get it for, a fraction of the original price, and you can be walking around in some of the best shirts that money can buy. So that's my top tip. Never do yourself down. You can dress to the very highest standard at modest prices. And that's very much what we're all about here on the Chap's Guide. So if you've enjoyed this video about shirts today and how you can dress fantastically and change up your game by following some of the tips and advice that I've given you, please do like the video. It means a lot to me to know that you're enjoying it and that you're taking something away from these conversations that we have. Click the subscribe button when you're there, because that means you won't miss anything in the future, especially if you click the bell icon. Please do leave some comments below. I'm more than happy to engage with you on any thoughts that you have around what I've talked about today, or even if there's something you'd like me to cover in the future in greater depth, let me know and we'll talk about it as well. So I really do value your input. This is a community, that we are on a journey together. So share it with me on the Chap's Guide, and I look forward to speaking to you again very soon.